If you ever ask yourself why some people can make a lot of money and some struggle to make their ends meet, you don't want to miss today's interview because today we are going to talk about money habits with Dr. Beverly Wixon. She is going to share with you very special tricks how you can rewire your brain for more abundance. Hello, Dr. Beverly. Thank you so much for being here. We feel honored to have you on our show.
Hi, Nina. Thank you so much. I'm honored and privileged to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Your story is really inspiring, and I think a lot of people can learn from your story. You were a high school teacher,
Yes, I was.
and then you got a little bit sick and you had to stop working, and then you had to find new source of income for you and your family. And this is where your money journey begins. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I was a career teacher and loved teaching. And then as I was getting near the end of my career, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I looked at my finances one day and was shocked at how little I had saved. Considering I had been saving for years, I was kind of shocked. So I realized that everybody was always saying teachers don't make any money, teachers can't have any money, teachers are always broke. And I realized how often I said it. And I thought, I've got to change this. I have to change. So I started delving into mindset, did all kinds of things, manifested an incredible investment program that I told friends about who were in the same company, and the opportunity was gone. It was there for less than 30 days. So all of that, I started changing my own mindset, and money slowly started trickling in. And I told my financial guy how much I wanted to save before I felt like I could leave. And he said, take you 10 years. I'm like, I'll give you 6. I even went so far as to say, I'll give you 7. I ended up doing it in less than 6, which was wonderful because, as you said, I got sick in 2018. My body started attacking itself. I don't know what else to say. And I was having such a difficult time working and making it through the entire day that I looked into leaving and what it was going to do. And I looked into my money and I was like, I'll be danged. I hit my number. I had hit my number like the month before I started looking into it. I was checking it monthly, but that was the month that I was like, I have to get out. I can't continue this. And I hit the number. And so I managed to work a little bit longer because I also got a $50,000 grant for the library I was working at the very, very end of my career. And so I stayed for those few months to see all those wonderful new books. And then I left. And it's been absolutely incredible ever since.
Yeah, that's really inspiring story. I want to share something with our audience, what you shared with me privately, that you 10x your savings in just 2 years. Can you talk a little bit?
It
Two
was
years,
6 years.
6 years. Oh, yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I did it without an extra job,
Mm-hmm.
without financial support from anyone else, without scrimping. I mean, I continued to go out and have dinner with friends. I continued to go to local theme parks. I even traveled to 5 different countries during those 6 years. So I wasn't sitting here going, I have to save every penny. I didn't do that. I didn't change anything intentionally. I know some things changed organically as I started to clear things. I didn't I didn't give away excess money of what I had done previously. Like if I got extra money, I would take other people out to lunch. I had to get rid of it because I didn't think I deserved that extra money. And as I cleared things, I did deserve it. And I still would take, I'd go out to lunch with friends and maybe I would buy the drinks, or maybe I would buy, a small lunch, but I didn't buy like lunch for 5 people, which is what I had done previously to get rid of it all. So but I didn't do that intentionally. It just kind of happened without me thinking about it until later. I would look back and go, oh, wow. But no scrimping, no pinching pennies, no extra job, and nobody else supporting me. And I did all that, managed to 10x it to go from $25,000 to $250,000 in less than 6 years. And like I said, that's without doing anything extra. I look back and I think, wow, if I'd taken on a second job, imagine what I could have done. So it was amazing.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to really go back to the moment when you realized I have to change something. How did you rewire your brain for abundance? We want to talk about this term, like rewiring your brain for abundance.
Well, what happened was I was sitting at lunch, and
Mhm.
teachers, like I said, teachers always said, I don't have enough money. And something was being said about it, and somebody was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and somebody joked about it. And they said, well, it's the end of the month. We don't have any money. And I thought, well, it's still a week away to payday because we got paid once a month. And I thought, for some reason, it just hit me strangely that they were saying we don't have any money. And that's why they were eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I thought, why don't they have any money? I mean, for lunch. I mean, I bought lunch every day. I didn't eat the school lunch. I bought lunch someplace else. And I thought, why don't they have any money? And then I went, I never have any money either at the end of the month, but I did the week before. And so I thought, I'm not going to say that anymore. For the rest of the week, I'm not going to say I don't have any money. It was the first thing I did. And on payday, I still had money, which I normally didn't. It wasn't a lot because I'd only been doing this for a few days. And I thought, I'm not going to say that anymore, period. And I'm not going to say I can't afford something. Because, I could afford it if I really wanted to. We all can. So that's what I did for the next month. And I was amazed that at the end of the month, when payday came, I mean, I still had about $300 left. And like I said, I'm serious. I lived payday to payday in those days. And I said, well, this is amazing. What else can I do? So that's when I thought, I read The Power of Positive Thinking eons ago. So I pulled out that book and I read it again. And I started doing some affirmations. And then the law of attraction came across my Facebook, and I watched that. And I was like, this is so cool. I was like, and it all started clicking about some of the things that I had done years past. And so I thought, well, if I could do that then with not knowing much, and I could do what I've done now with not knowing much, what else can I learn? And I started reading books and going to seminars and doing DIY courses and taking group courses and getting coaching and all the stuff. I did everything. And I think that's how it happened in 6 years. Because like I said, my financial advisor was certain it would take more than 10.
You mentioned something that was really, really important. These money limiting beliefs that everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk a little bit about them, about those money limiting beliefs and blocks and barriers for people usually have that blocking them to make money, keep money, and make even more money?
Yes, we're all born with a clean slate. But we immediately start looking around at everybody else. And then we hear things and we're told things like when we're 5 years old. One of the ones that I was told was money burns a hole in your pocket. I had gotten money for, my birthday, and I went and spent it all. And I guess, what happens is it gets into your subconscious, and then your subconscious looks for evidence. So I set about proving my father right, that money burned a hole in my pocket. Everybody has these various beliefs, and they come from everywhere. I mean, that was just a little silly statement he made to a 5-year-old. It wasn't like I was 25 and trying to buy a house and couldn't afford it. I was 5 years old. And I know he didn't mean to create this limiting belief, but that's what I did. Because Shakespeare made the comment. Shakespeare said, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Mm-hmm. And what happened was I am the one who thought, yes, money burns a hole in my pocket. Always. Okay. I'm going to prove that. And your brain sets out to create this evidence for it. And the next thing you know, if we have extra money, we're giving it away. We're getting rid of it somehow. Whether we lose it, which I have done, whether we spend it on everybody else, which I have done, whether we just blow it on things and then we go, I had $500 yesterday. What did I do with it? And we have no clue, nothing to show for it, which I have done. I lost an IRS refund check. Yes, I got it replaced, but it took a lot of pain, especially to get that, because it was a check back in those days. So it was a lot of pain to get it refunded. I have overdrawn my bank accounts all because I thought money burned a hole in my pocket. And we all do this. Every single person on the planet has money blocks, because even no matter how much money you make, you're always going to hit the ceiling of like, that's all you deserve, or you don't deserve any more. I think this is why so many people in fields like teaching and nursing, because it's a collective thing of teachers don't make any money, nurses don't make enough money. But the thing is, I have yet to meet a person who says they make more than enough money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
the truth. Yeah. People are never satisfied with the amount they have.
exactly.
And you mentioned something very important, that a lot of limiting beliefs we form in our childhood. And I remember when I was a child, I usually got a lot of money from my uncles and aunts, and I got a lot of banknotes, and I was so happy. I kept all my banknotes in the box. And one day my mom found my box and she said to me, "Wow, what do you do with this money? Like, what can a kid do with the money? Maybe I buy a lollipop, maybe, and that's it." And I said, "Mom, this is my money. I'm so rich. And one day I'm going to live from the interest rate." She looked at me and she said, "Don't be fool. Do you know how much money you need to have to live from the interest rate?" And that conversation with my mom and her limiting beliefs about money became my limiting beliefs. And they are actually passed on generationally. And I remember I always love to play with the money. I love numbers. I love everything what has with I love calculations and money. And when I went to university, I started studying finance, and I really wanted to know how to invest money, how to buy shares. And I had my first saving as a student, and I went to the bank and said, "I want to buy shares." And they said to us like, "Yeah, we can support you. How much money do you have?" I said like 100 euros. I was so proud of these 100 euros. And they look at me like I'm crazy, like, "That's nothing." I said, "It's a lot of money." It was a lot of money for me at that moment, and invested that money. They helped me buy shares. And I remember the first time I got the dividend paid. It was 7.95 euros. And I called my mom and I said, "Mom, today I live on interest rate because I have enough money to buy food. You know, Mom, I made it. Like, I succeeded." She stopped for the moment and said, "I never thought about that." Because people are not taught how to manage money and how little you need to start to create the income, or create like make savings and things like that. I want to talk about limiting beliefs, most common limiting beliefs that people have about money. Can you share your experience?
I think what I have found is some of the most common ones they have is there's never going to be enough.
Mm.
That if you make a lot of money, you're greedy.
Mm.
Because, as much as I love Disney, and I do love Disney, what were we taught? Scrooge McDuck. I mean, they were all greedy. So those were our role models. I also think another one is, I don't deserve it.
Mm.
I don't deserve, I have enough. I have enough. I don't need more than enough. They don't think they earn enough, but they'll think I have enough, which I look at as really conflicting. Yeah, because they think that what they earn is supposed to go back out to frivolous things. Those are some of the ones I see the most, and that nobody in my family has ever made money, so I can't make money.
Mm.
And also, what you just said is, it takes too much money to make money, because we hear it takes money to make money, and what so many people think is it takes so much more than I have. It's like like you said, they don't realize you can do it with 100 euros or $100. You can get started.
Yeah, I remember that bank employee looked at me in shock. I said, like, "That's nothing." I said, "Well, that's a lot of money for me," because I was a student. I didn't have money at that time, but it really helped me create a habit and learn more about investing and shares and all kind of things. It's basically, it encouraged me, it gave me hope that I can do it too. And that's really important for people to understand, that you just need to start and everything else is going to unfold. And what you mentioned, start learning, read books and do coaching, and everything else will come to its place and you will start learning more and more and more. I want to talk a little bit about specific habits people have that make them money or make them spend the money. Can you share your experience with your students?
The spending, the habit is simply, I've got it, I need to spend it.
Mhm.
And I taught mostly in low socioeconomic schools. So their belief was if they had it, they bought. I knew one girl that she didn't tell me this. Other people told me this. If they ran into her in the local 7-Eleven or the local convenience store and they were wanting to buy something, she would buy it. Because she worked, she had a job, and she would just buy it for them. Even people that she barely knew, but she knew they were students, and she would buy it for them. And so she never had extra money. You know, she was living payday to payday because she was so busy giving it away, which she thought was really a nice thing. And it is a nice thing to give to people. You know, don't get me wrong, I think giving is living. But when you give away everything and you don't have extra left over for yourself, there's a problem.
Mhm.
And on the flip side of that, there were other people who would go to the store thinking she might be there because they never had anything. They never had any money. And they felt like, well, I don't have, and I can get somebody else to buy it for me. I can get somebody else to take care of me. Um, and, you know, sadly, a lot of it was there wasn't a job that they could do or they wanted to do. So they didn't want to. They didn't have the money for that reason. There are also, in this area being low socioeconomic, they saw their parents. They saw their parents not working. They saw their parents spending money and never having money. They saw their parents living on the government and felt like, I actually had a student once say his when he grew up, he was going to do what his parents did and live on welfare. You know, he wasn't going to get, he had no intention of getting a job because that's what he knew. And that's what he thought was supposed to happen. Now, that's not everybody. That was that one student. But a lot of people, they take on their parents' stuff, whether it's living on welfare or whether it's just spending everything. And so that's the negative side of it. The habits that people have who do have money and who make it, one is they do exactly what you do, what you did. When the bank teller told you that it wasn't a lot of money, you were like, yes, it is. And I would almost guarantee that your enthusiasm and your belief in that is why that person said, okay, let's get you set up with some stocks, with some shares.
Exactly. Exactly.
So they're enthusiastic about it. They're grateful for it. And I think they're grateful for everything. When I started and I had students do this, I said, look, I don't care what you find. If you find a pencil, because students were always losing pencils, so they were always finding pencils outside. I said, every penny you find for the next week, just say, pick it up and say, thank you. And I said, I don't care who you're saying thank you to, because I know some of you believe in God, some of you don't. I don't care if you're looking at the pencil saying thank you, the penny saying thank you, but say thank you and mean it. Don't just go, thanks, mean it. If a teacher loaned you a pencil, and some of them did it, and they told me, they came in telling me the next week that it was amazing that when they started saying thank you for things, more things came to them. And if it was money, they were like, you know, I started saying thank you for pennies and I started finding nickels.
Mm.
I see, this is where it starts. So I think gratitude is a huge, huge part of it. And believing in yourself. Believing in yourself is so incredible. And believing there's plenty of money out there. So many people, that's another one. So many people think there's not enough money out there. You know, we have to make sure that everybody has an equal share. I frequently hear people in this country say, we shouldn't have any more billionaires. I'm like, why? There's more every year. What's the problem? There's plenty of money in circulation. There's plenty of money out there. We just have to know there is plenty of money out there and invite it in, welcome it in, and be grateful when it shows up.
Yeah, I agree with that, because very often people say, we need to have additional wealth distribution. I also believe that we need to support people who don't have the money. I also donate money, but we also have a right to be rewarded for our work. And that's the one thing that people really need to start looking at. That's the reward for our work we do every single day. And also, I would just want to give listeners like one small thing: start small, and you will not make thousands and millions, but it's going to give you confidence that you can do it too. And that's what it gave me. And then you start, as you mentioned, start reading the books, and it's going to change the whole way how you see money, and being grateful and thankful for everything what we have in our life. And yeah, that's really, really impressive. I grew up with a grandmother who always said, God has an abundant garden. If you want something, just ask for that. And she was so grateful for everything. I remember the moment everybody, like when you gave her something or when you helped her something, she was so grateful. She would say the whole day, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I have to admit, she was one of the richest person I ever met, because she constantly had a lot of money coming from everywhere, which was really, really beautiful to watch and see. Uh, Dr. Beverly, I want to talk a little bit about the books you read and resources you used to rewire your brain. Can you please share some of these resources with the audience?
Yes. Well, like the first one that I ever read was The Power of Positive Thinking years ago. I mean, years and decades ago. And to me, that was the most powerful one, I think, because even years later, when I had a major financial mess up of my own, I remembered it. I remembered the things that I had done with that, the affirmations, and I started doing them. And lo and behold, things worked. So that's one. I also, of course, read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think, was it Norman Vincent Peale that did the first one? Yes, I think. I always get his name mixed up. It did Power of Positive Thinking. And then watching The Law of Attraction, which you can see bits and pieces of it online. There's also a book, The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, Byrne, who did The Secret. It's a 28-day thing of little exercises you can do to increase your gratitude. Love it. It's got so many things. One of my favorites is saying thank you 100 times a day. She talks about Einstein talking about saying thank you to the past scientist 100 times a day. And so when I like walk out to my mailbox, I just say thank you with every step out there and back. It's not 100, but then I'll do it again later as I'm walking down the street. I'll just pick a spot and say thank you. And it's just so wonderful. And that's just one of the 28 exercises. There's so many, and it's do one every day. And then you kind of pick your favorites. And then if you read it a second time, you'll probably pick some more. And it's just ways to bring gratitude into your life. And that was very instrumental in what I do, because I do so much gratitude. And who else? So many people I have learned from. Abraham Hicks. Obviously, I went to one of her seminars. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Tony Robbins. I went to a couple of his 3-day seminars, which were absolutely incredible. The thing about seminars is they're incredible, and you walk away with all this wonderful stuff, but then you get back to real life. And that's what would happen to me, is I would get back to my busy teaching, teaching high school students, grading papers, doing lesson plans, and over a couple of weeks, all that enthusiasm would fade. And that's also with books. You learn all this stuff, but then, time goes on. And that's why I like working with an individual coach, because that coach keeps you on track. That coach keeps you doing things. Like even in my Facebook group, I'll make a live and I'll say something, and people will tell me about it, and they'll start doing it for a little while. And then the next time I do it, they're like, oh, I forgot about this. Because we get back to real life. So those are some of my favorites, though. Those are some of my favorite resources. And of course, different Facebook groups.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you share something that is really, really important, like how people get enthusiastic about seminars and about books, and then they have a problem with implementation. And this is why it's so crucial to have a coach, for example, like you, who is really hold you accountable for the work you do, and really checks with you every single day. Hey, how is everything going? Like, do you need support? did you do this exercise? I think that's really, really powerful. This is why it's so powerful to have a really good coach. And I want to share with audience something that you shared with me before this interview about your students, how even teenagers can change um, their habits and rewire their brain for abundance. And you mentioned something that was really interesting. If teenagers can do it, adults can do it too, because adults are usually in a bigger pain than teenagers. Can you share some of stories that your students had?
Sure, I'll share a couple of real quick ones. Now, since they were teenagers, these are 17-year-olds. I was teaching juniors and seniors. And I started out sharing with other teachers. And then I thought, do this with kids because they only had about 5 minutes. So at the beginning of every period, I would have something on the board for them to do. And sometimes it was a little journaling thing. Sometimes it was write an affirmation. And sometimes it was just me giving them the idea, like with saying thank you for the pencils and everything they found. But I had a girl come in one day, all excited. Remember that thing we did the other day? Well, which thing, And so she told me about they had written down a goal and they'd written their why. And she goes, it was amazing. She goes, I have been applying for jobs and calling them back. And they kept telling me later, later, later. She goes, I wrote down that I wanted to get a job and to get interviews because, I want to go to college and I want to be able to have some money and I want to start saving now for it. And she goes, that day that we wrote that very day, she goes, I got a call for an interview. And she goes, and now it'd been like 3 days. She goes, I have 4 interviews set up for, the next few days. And of course, within the next week, she had a job. And this one boy in the class goes, well, it didn't work for me. The whole class spins. And I said, well, maybe the fact that you didn't have paper, didn't have a pencil, spent 4 of the 5 minutes looking for all that might have something to do with it. But let's see, how much did you write on that? And he holds it up. It was 1 sentence. And I said, I tell you what, you write right now, while we talk to other people. Another girl in the class shared that she had always wanted a brand new Mustang for her 17th birthday. And her father had been telling her for like 3 years, there was no way she was getting it. Her birthday had been the week before and she'd gotten it with pink stripes on it even. And she was absolutely certain she was not, she thought she was going to get an older Mustang, but she got a brand new one. So blew her away. And her father said, well, it's because all these wonderful things had happened to him in the past year about money that he was able to do it. Another student had always wanted to learn how to do some trick, and I don't know what it's called, on a skateboard, but he could only find a couple of YouTube videos about it and they weren't clear. And he'd been wanting to do this and he was right. That's what he wrote about, oddly. And just a few days after he wrote that, he saw somebody doing it in the park who taught him how to do it. And he goes, I didn't connect it with what we wrote, but after hearing these stories, he goes, that makes sense. So in the meantime, this other student's writing his. He gets it all written. And his parents had both been laid off. He was working 3 jobs to support his family. And I knew that already because I had questioned him about his grades. And so he had told me that. His goal was to find one job that would pay him what the 3 jobs were paying. So he wrote that all out and he came in like 2 days later and said, one of my jobs, they asked me if I wanted to be a floor manager. And I said, what's a floor manager? And so he explained it and it was more pay. And he said it would be temporary, but it'd be more pay. A few weeks later, he came in, they've offered him to be the floor manager, but to do 90 days and see how he really liked it. And he did that, comes in. So here we are 3 months later, he's now the floor manager making more than he was making at the other 3 jobs. When he started doing the temporary the 90-day thing, he quit one of the jobs. So when he became permanent, he was able to quit the other job. So he had gotten his 3 jobs or gotten rid of 2 of the jobs. So he had one job paying him more than the 3 jobs combined. And he's like, I am never going to stop doing this. He could not believe what had happened. It was so amazing because it wasn't working. He was working 40 hours a week with the 3 jobs. The one job was still only part-time. but he was making more money than all 3 jobs. And that
Wow.
was just incredible. That's the one that gives me shivers. And so I knew if it could work with them who spent, 5 minutes maximum on it, this could certainly work with adults who would spend 15 to 30 minutes because, like you said, they have more pain, they want to get rid of it, and they know what can be out there. Whereas these teenagers in a low socioeconomic area, most of them had no clue what they could do.
Thank you so much for sharing those inspiring stories. I think it's also very important for audience to understand no matter what kind of pain you have right now, you can change that. And it all starts with you and taking responsibility for your life and start doing even small things. Like those small micro habits can create big ripple effect on your life. And
Exactly.
Dr. Beverly, if you could give advice to your younger self, what would that be?
Advice to my younger self would have been one, always, always, always believe in yourself. Don't let other people's negativity tear you down. You can do anything you want. You can be anything you want, except maybe taller. But otherwise, you can do anything and be anything with the right mindset and there's nothing, like I said, I love Shakespeare's quote, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So think good thoughts. Think that everything that works for you or everything that happens to you or for you is actually happening for you, and that it's a miracle that it's happening. Everything is a miracle. And when you start looking at that everything, even what most people perceive as negative, as a miracle, you start to see the good in it. And therefore you start to see the good in everything. And your life just gets so much better.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And there's an exercise I usually love to do. It's called gift process, where I create 2 columns. In one column, I put all bad things that happened to me. And then in the another column, I put what have I learned from those things and how they made me better, stronger, and more confident in myself, in my skills. And that's something that really, really helps me change perspective on the things that happened in my life and gives me hope and courage and confidence to go for my dreams.
Yes, I love that. I love that because we learn something from everything. And like you said, that makes us stronger, more confident, better people.
Yeah. Dr.
If we
Beverly,
let it. If we let it.
yeah. Dr. Beverly, thank you so much for being here today with us. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, expertise with our audience. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And before we wrap up this interview, I would love to ask you if you can share where audience can find more about you.
Well, thank you, Nina. I really appreciate it. This has been wonderful to do. I'm on Facebook, and that's easiest place to find me. It's at Abundance Personified. That's where you'll find the most information. I also do have a website, which is simply beverlywixon.com. That's easy to find. I think those are probably the 2 easiest places to find me, or find me on Facebook, just on my personal profile. Trust me, there are not that many Beverly Wixons out there. There are 3 of us. One's in England and one is someplace else. I've actually contacted both of them. So with the name Wixon, easy to find.
Thank you so much for being guest on our show today. Thank you so much. And for everybody else who is listening today, keep working on yourself because the world does need that love and light inside of you more than ever. I'm sending you lots of love and big hug. Bye for now.